Former Eskom executive Vally Padayachee joins us now via our virtual connection. Mr. Padayachee, not the first time that the president would cut an international trip short to attend to our domestic power problems. And rightfully so, many South Africans are asking, well, what difference is his presence in the country going to make? Your own take in terms of what possibly can come out of tomorrow's meeting that can lead to very tangible results as a way of immediate intervention to the crisis of load shedding.
Good evening, Kathy, and good evening to your viewers. It's once again glad to be back here, notwithstanding again the disappointing circumstances that we're coming. Yes, I think with the president coming back here, for me it sends two key messages. One, obviously the seriousness of the situation, the load shedding situation to the country. I mean, he had to cut back on a significant visit back to the USA. And I think he stayed on a bit longer because of the Queen's funeral. So that's the one message, where it's the seriousness of the situation. Secondly, just my conjecture, he's obviously appointed a National Energy Crisis Committee, who I think are doing good work. I'm very close to that committee. But having said that, there's probably other factors, other extraneous factors that maybe he's unhappy with, and you feel that it needs his input at his level, and hence he made that call to come back quickly. So some will argue it's an indictment on the current team. I would not say so. I just think it's the enormity of the situation, and I concur with that.
Mr. Padayachee, if we're being honest, and we are, let's say, to stick with one of your reasons, that the reason he's coming back is due to the enormity of the situation, then the situation has been at the point that it's at for some time now. In fact, a number of years. So it's not a new crisis. It's just that every time we find ourselves in the grips and in the depths of it, there seems to be a sense of urgency. We were here just a couple of months ago, around about May, when the country started experiencing, again, load shedding level of stage 6 load shedding. But even that wasn't the first time that we were plunged into that level of load shedding. And I think that's really where the problem is, that we can't seem to break the cycle.
Yes, yes, Kathy, and as I said to you the other night, I've been in this game for over 40 years, and I've now reached a stage where I cannot defend this situation. I think I've made it known that it's actually quite puzzling that Eskom, until about 15 years ago, thereabouts, was one of the top 5 utilities in the world. And to have now plunged to a situation where it's almost like a pariah utility, it's totally unaccepted. So if I've got time, I'd like to talk about what needs to be done. You know, we are in a crisis situation. We're not yet in an emergency, definitely not in a disaster situation. But I'm hoping that coming out of the cabinet meeting tomorrow, and other interventions, there's going to be some outcomes that are different. I'm not saying totally different, that are different to address this situation. And some of them may mean going into the engine room of Eskom, especially at the leadership level.
Let's talk about some of your suggestions of what needs to be done differently.
I think, Kathy, you can't judge what normally happens in the engine room, but you can judge from the actions that emanate from that and from people. Now, if I look at the board, and I'm not and I'm not talking about all the board members, and I make the comments in the context of the current crisis that we are in the last few days, stage 5, stage 6, and I just got a note now that stage 5 is going to continue till Thursday. I'm not certain whether we could go to stage 7 or stage 8. So that's a serious risk that we cannot afford. So what needs to be taken, and this is my take, if I start at the board level, right? The board level and the CEO and the Chief Operations Officer are part of the board. That's where the buck stops, right? Albeit Eskom belongs to the government, but in terms of an operational point of view, the buck stops at the board, operation and strategy. Now, if I take a case in point, we were told by the president he's coming back from his overseas visits on an urgent basis, right? Yet, up to today, I stand to be corrected, we haven't heard from the chairman of the board. The chairman of the board has been invisible or conspicuous by his absence, both visibly and verbally, right? Mr. Director and CEO, and we'll talk about that as well, needs the support from the board, visible support. Now, for me, the chairman, and the chairman is not an engineer as well, and maybe that's not a problem. I understand he's a medical doctor. Mr. Director is a advocate, lawyer. So we have two people at the helm who are non-engineers, non-technical people, which is actually unique for Eskom to be in that situation. But what I'm saying is that for me and from comments that I get from the marketplace from some of the people, the board has not been active in this crisis situation. And I made the point about the president coming, and the chairman still hasn't commented on that situation. So that's one. Obviously, the board came with, the new board that was appointed a few years ago, came with good promise in terms of strategies. I don't say that all of them are not working, but obviously the key strategies in terms of keeping the business sustainable, keeping the lights burning, is not working. So in any good management practice, and Eskom is being run on, albeit it's a state-owned utility, on private sector norms. So it means that there has to be a change in the leadership as a collective from there.
All right.
I also made the point, yeah. Let me hand back to you.
All right, Mr. Padayachee, we're going to leave it there, unfortunately, for tonight. Vally Padayachee, he is a former Eskom executive, and you heard there, he says more questions need to be asked about the leadership of the entity, including its board.